Here is a maze. Getting through it looks like a job for patience. Just keep trying corridors until one works. But there is a deeper question hiding here. Not simply, is there a way out? But, what is the shortest way out? And how can a machine find it when it cannot see the whole maze at once? That single question grew into some of the most useful algorithms ever written. The same ones that route your phone's directions and move characters in video games. Let us build them up, one idea at a time. Start with the oldest trick of all, the wall follower. Put your left hand on the wall and never lift it. Walk forward, and whenever you can, turn left, following that wall around every corner and every dead end. Do this, and in an ordinary maze you are guaranteed to reach the exit. It feels almost magical, and it needs no memory at all. But that magic has a limit. Watch what happens when the maze has a loop in it. A wall that closes back on itself like an island. The hand follows that island around, and around, and around, and never touches the outer path that leads to the goal. The wall follower is trapped. The lesson is simple but important. Without memory, without keeping track of where you have already been, a searcher can wander forever. So let us give it a memory. In 1882, Charles Trémaux described the fix. Every time you walk down a passage, draw a mark on it. At a junction, prefer a passage with no marks. Never take a passage that already has 2 marks. Follow these rules and you will explore the entire maze without ever getting stuck. Backing out of dead ends until you find the goal. This is essentially what we now call depth-first search. It plunges as deep as it can down one corridor. And only when it hits a dead end does it back up and try another. It always finds a path. But notice the path it finds. Because it commits to one direction and dives. The route it returns is usually long and winding. Almost never the shortest one. Finding a way is not the same as finding the best way. To find the shortest way, we change our strategy completely. Instead of diving down one corridor, we grow outward in every direction at once. Like a ripple spreading across a pond. This is breadth-first search. From the start, we step to every neighbor. Then to all of their neighbors. Then the next ring, and the next. Each cell remembers who reached it first. Because the wave expands one step at a time. The very first moment it touches the goal. We have found a path with the fewest possible steps. It is guaranteed shortest. This idea was spelled out around 1959. By Edward Moore and, for circuit wiring, by C.Y. Lee. There is only one problem. The wave does not know where the goal is. So it spreads the same distance in every direction. Filling huge areas of the maze that lead nowhere near the exit. And there is a second problem. In the real world, not every step costs the same. Crossing mud is slower than a paved road. A mountain pass costs more than flat ground. Breadth-first search counts steps. But it cannot handle costs. The fix came from Dijkstra. In 1959, reportedly worked out in about 20 minutes while sitting at a cafe. Dijkstra's algorithm keeps, for every cell, the cheapest total cost known to reach it so far. At each turn, it does not expand the nearest cell. It expands the cheapest one, pulling the next candidate from a priority queue. That priority queue is the quiet hero of the whole method. Picture a waiting list that always keeps itself sorted. So the cheapest cell is forever at the front, ready to be served next. Each time we uncover a new cell, or find a cheaper way into one we have already seen, we drop it into the list, and it bubbles to its rightful place, taking out the smallest, and slotting in a new value. Each cost only a handful of operations, even with thousands of cells waiting. Without that trick, repeatedly hunting for the cheapest option would crawl. With it, the same method can sweep across a map of millions of intersections. When it finally settles the goal, that cost is provably the lowest possible. With every weight set to 1, Dijkstra becomes exactly breadth-first search. But it inherits the same blind spot. It still has no idea which way the goal lies. So it keeps growing outward as a fat, nearly circular blob, wasting effort in every direction. Now for the key idea. The one that ties everything together. What if the search had a sense of direction? Even without seeing the walls. We usually know roughly where the goal is. Its straight line distance. As the crow flies. Call that estimate h. Here is the tempting shortcut. Why not just always move toward the goal? Always pick the cell with the smallest h. That is called greedy best first search. And it is wonderfully fast. But it is easily fooled. chasing the estimate alone. It will happily charge down a passage that points straight at the goal but ends in a wall. Or take a long crooked detour. Because it never considers how far it has already traveled. Speed without a conscience. So we keep the honesty of Dijkstra as well. Call the real cost we have spent so far. A Star. Published in 1968 by Peter Hart, Nils Nielsen, and Bertrand Raphael for the robot named Shaky. Orders its search by the sum of the two. F equals G plus H. The G term keeps it honest about the past. The H term makes it ambitious about the future. Always leaning toward the goal. And here is the beautiful part. As long as that estimate never overestimates the true remaining cost. A property we call admissible. A star is still guaranteed to find the shortest path. But because the estimate pulls it forward, it no longer wastes time exploring backward. Its search is not a fat circle. It is a narrow beam, aimed straight at the destination. Notice that if you simply set H to 0, the estimate vanishes, and a star turns back into Dijkstra. Dijkstra is just a star with no sense of direction. But one subtle catch can make or break it. The heuristic has to match the moves you are actually allowed to make. On a grid where you step only up, down, left, and right, the honest estimate is the Manhattan distance. The horizontal plus the vertical steps between you and the goal. But allow diagonal moves, and Manhattan suddenly overestimates. It charges you for 2 steps where a single diagonal would do. And the instant your estimate claims a trip is longer than it truly is, the guarantee shatters, and a star can hand you a path that is not the shortest. So for diagonal movement, we switch to an estimate that counts diagonals honestly. The whole rule fits on one line. Your heuristic may be optimistic, but it must never be pessimistic. Stay optimistic, and a star stays optimal. Let us put them side by side on the same map. Breadth first search floods outward and expands 910 cells before reaching the goal. Dijkstra, with equal costs, does exactly the same. 910. A star, guided by its heuristic, reaches the same optimal path having expanded just 63. All three find a route of identical length. But a star does it exploring more than 90% fewer cells. That is the whole story of pathfinding in one picture. Guarantee the best path, but waste as little effort as possible getting there. From Theseus and his thread, to a hand on the wall, to a robot in 1968. It is the same question answered better and better. And every time your map app draws a blue line across the city, or a game character slips around an obstacle, some descendant of a star is running, quietly finding the shortest way through the maze.